Dust clouds rolled across the purple grass fields of New Perth as Leo Durant climbed over the fence into the animal preserve. His boots hit the ground with a soft thud, and immediately a low growl came from the nearby den. He grinned and whistled twice. A stocky creature with gray and white fur burst from the shadows. Badger was not like the cats or dogs that other colony families kept. He was something different, something from old Earth that most aliens had never seen. The honey badger trotted up to Leo and made a huffing sound that might have been affection or annoyance. With Badger, it was hard to tell. "Yeah, I know I'm late," Leo said, scratching behind Badger's ears. "Dad had me fixing the fence on the south border. The preserve held dozens of animals from Earth. Lions, elephants, wolves, bears. All of them adapted for colony life. All of them part of his family's project to spread Earth's creatures across the stars. But Badger was special. He had been born the same year Leo turned 5, and they had grown up together. The genetic modifications made Badger smarter and gave him a longer lifespan. Some days Leo swore the animal understood every word he said. Leo walked through the preserve with Badger at his heels. The twin suns were setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink that never happened on Earth. He checked the water systems and made sure all the animals had enough food. His parents trusted him with this work even though he was only 12. On colony worlds, kids learned responsibility early. That's when he heard the sound. A deep rumbling that didn't belong to any animal in the preserve. Leo looked up and saw the sky splitting open with fire. 3 ships descended through the atmosphere, their hulls dark and scarred. Pirates. His heart jumped into his throat. The emergency sirens started wailing across the colony. His comm device buzzed with his mother's frantic voice. "Leo, get to the bunker now." But the ships were already landing in the fields around him. Too fast, too close. Leo ran toward the trees, but Badger wasn't following. The honey badger stood his ground, watching the nearest ship with those small black eyes that missed nothing. "Badger, come on," Leo shouted. The ship's door opened with a hiss of hydraulics. Creatures Leo had never seen before stepped out. They walked on 2 legs but had fur like cats with long tails and pointed ears. Their armor was mismatched and covered in scratches. One of them, taller than the rest, scanned the area with yellow eyes. "Well, well," the tall one said. His voice was rough like gravel. "What do we have here?" "A human juvenile. Those fetch a nice price at Rustgate." Leo backed away slowly. "You can't take colonists." "There are laws," the pirate captain laughed. It was not a kind sound. "Laws are for civilized space, boy. This is the outer rim. Different rules apply." 2 more pirates moved to surround Leo. He could run, but they were faster. He could fight, but they were stronger. His mind raced through options. Then Badger moved. The honey badger launched himself at the nearest pirate's leg. Teeth sank into flesh and the alien howled. His companion raised a weapon, some kind of stun rifle, and fired. The blue bolt hit Badger and sent him tumbling across the grass. He didn't get back up, no! Leo tried to run to his friend, but strong hands grabbed him. The pirate captain held him easily. "Interesting creature," the captain said, nodding toward Badger's unconscious form. "Brave but stupid. Like most Earth animals. Grab it too. Might be worth something." They put Leo in restraints that hummed with energy. Every time he struggled, they tightened. One pirate scooped up Badger and dumped him into a cargo container. Leo watched helplessly as they loaded both of them onto the ship, along with 3 other animals from the preserve. A young lion cub, 2 wolves, all sedated, all stolen. The ship lifted off before colony security could respond. Through a small window, Leo saw New Perth shrinking below. Smoke rose from several buildings. Other ships were leaving too, all of them loaded with stolen goods and people. His home disappeared into the clouds. Inside the ship, they threw Leo into a holding cell with the animals. The cage was barely 3 meters across, with energy bars instead of solid walls. Badger lay in the corner, still unconscious from the stun blast. Leo crawled over to him and checked for breathing. The steady rise and fall of his chest brought relief. "You'll be okay," Leo whispered. "We'll both be okay," but he didn't believe it. Not yet. The other pirates talked among themselves in a language Leo didn't understand, but their leader switched to common tongue when he approached the cell. "You'll bring 50,000 credits at auction, boy. Young humans are rare outside the core worlds. Some rich family will buy you as a servant or a curiosity. Try to escape and I'll space you. Understand?" Leo looked up at him. "My parents will come for me. Your parents are farmers on a frontier world. They have no resources to track us. No connections. No power. The captain grinned. You're alone now. He walked away and darkness filled the holding area as the ship jumped to faster-than-light travel. Leo sat with his back against the wall, one hand on Badger's fur. The honey badger's breathing was getting stronger. Soon he would wake up. Leo thought about everything his father had taught him. About animal behavior. About patience. About waiting for the right moment. Pirates were predators, but they were also arrogant. They had dismissed him as helpless, dismissed Badger as just another animal. That was their first mistake. He looked around the cell, studying every detail. The energy bars had a flicker pattern. The lock mechanism was external but visible. Guard rotations seemed chaotic, undisciplined. These pirates were successful because they preyed on the weak. They had never faced someone who refused to be a victim. Badger's eyes opened. The honey badger lifted his head and looked at Leo. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Then Badger made a low sound, almost like a question. Leo smiled grimly. Yeah, buddy. We're in trouble, but we're not done yet. The honey badger stood up slowly, shaking off the effects of the stun. He walked to the edge of the cell and sniffed at the energy bars. Then he looked back at Leo with an expression that was pure determination. Pirates had taken them. Pirates had made a terrible mistake. Because honey badgers never gave up and humans protected their friends. The galaxy was about to learn that lesson the hard way. The ship called Crimson Talon smelled like rust and old sweat. Leo had been counting the hours since they captured him. 37 so far. The pirates fed them once a day with nutrient paste that tasted like wet cardboard. Badger refused to eat it at first, but hunger eventually won. In the cell next to Leo's, a young alien girl pressed her face against the energy bars. She had soft purple fur and large eyes that seemed too sad for someone so young. Her species was called Quillen, according to the writing on her cage. She had been crying for most of the first day. Hey, Leo said softly. What's your name? She looked at him with surprise. You speak common tongue? Most humans do. Colony education. He gave her what he hoped was a reassuring smile. I'm Leo, this is Badger. The honey badger was exploring every corner of their cell, sniffing and scratching at things. He had already found 3 loose bolts and a crack in the floor panel. Leo had pocketed the bolts when the guards weren't looking. I'm Nira, the girl said. They took me from the market on my homeworld. My mother was shopping and I was waiting outside and then... Her voice broke. We'll get out of here, Leo said. He tried to sound confident. Nira shook her head. No one escapes the Tarlon pirates. Everyone knows this. Everyone's wrong then. A harsh laugh came from the cell on Leo's other side. An older human man sat there, gray beard covering half his face, scars covering the rest. He looked like someone who had seen too much of the galaxy's dark side and lived to tell about it. Big words from a small boy, the man said. You got a plan, kid, or just making noise? Working on the plan, Leo replied. You got a name? Hammond. I'm a prospector. Was checking an asteroid field when these cats jumped me. He gestured at the Tarlon guards. Been in worse situations, though. Once got trapped in a collapsed mine for 6 days. Ate my boots to survive, Leo studied him. Hammond looked tough, but more importantly, he looked like someone who knew how to handle himself. How many guards do they have? 8 total. Captain Rivek runs the show. First mate Scree does the navigation. 6 regular crew handling security and maintenance. Hammond leaned forward. Why? Just gathering information. Badger made a huffing sound and pawed at the energy barrier. A small spark jumped from his claws to the field. The barrier flickered for just a moment. Leo's eyes widened. Badger did it again, deliberately this time. Another flicker. Well, I'll be damned, Hammond muttered. That thing is testing the field's frequency. He's smart, Leo said. Genetic modifications. One of the guards, a Tarlon named Talvik, sauntered over to their cells. He was smaller than Captain Rivek, but meaner. Leo had watched him kick one of the other prisoners yesterday just for making noise. Quiet down here, Talvik growled. He pointed at Badger. Especially that ugly rat. Badger turned and stared at him. No fear, no submission, just pure assessment. Talvik didn't like that. He pulled out his stun weapon and fired a quick blast into the cell. Badger dodged with shocking speed, but the bolt clipped his shoulder. He yelped and fell. Badger! Leo pressed against the barrier, ignoring the pain as it shocked him. The honey badger was breathing hard but already climbing back to his feet. Talvik laughed and walked away. Nira was crying again. They're monsters. Yeah, Leo said quietly. They are. But monsters make mistakes. Hammond was watching him with new interest. You really are planning something. They think we're helpless. Animals and kids and an old man. Leo met his eyes. Are you helpless? Not even slightly. Good, when the time comes I need you to trust me. Kid, I don't even know you. My family runs a preserve. I've worked with predators since I could walk. I know behavior. I know patterns. These pirates have patterns. Leo pointed at the guard rotation. They change shifts every 8 hours. For 5 minutes during the change, only 2 guards watch the holding area. The energy barriers are on emergency power during those 5 minutes while the main systems cycle. Hammond's eyebrows rose. You figured that out in a day and a half? I pay attention. Badger figured out the field frequency. We've got loose bolts from the floor panel. Nira's cell has a cracked locking mechanism. I can see it from here. Your cell shares a power conduit with mine. See that panel? Leo pointed to a junction box between their cells. You want to short out the fields, Hammond said slowly. During the next shift change. We get free, we release the other prisoners, we take the guards by surprise, we get to the escape pods. Nira stared at him. That's crazy. We'll die. We'll die anyway if we get to Rustgate, Leo said. Pirates don't keep prisoners after selling them. We'll be separated, sold to whoever pays. Maybe we end up somewhere okay, but probably not. I'd rather take my chances now. Badger limped over and pressed against Leo's leg. The stun had hurt him, but those eyes were as fierce as ever. Honey badgers felt pain like any creature, but they just didn't care. Fear was something other animals had. Hammond rubbed his beard. The pods are 3 corridors away. We'd have to fight through armed guards. Not if we cause enough chaos. Release all the animals first. The lions, the wolves. These pirates have never seen Earth predators. They won't know how dangerous they are. That's actually not a terrible plan, Hammond admitted. Still probably going to get us killed, but not terrible. I'm scared, Nira whispered. Leo looked at her. Being scared is okay. Being smart is better. You want to see your mother again? She nodded. Then when I say run, you run. Don't think. Don't look back. Just run. The hours crawled by. Leo explained the plan in whispers to both Hammond and Nira. He had been watching the ship's rhythm, learning its sounds. He could hear when they approached jump points by the way the engines changed pitch. He knew which corridor led to the bridge and which led to the pods. Badger stayed close, occasionally testing the energy barrier. Each time, the flicker lasted a little longer. The honey badger was learning something, figuring out the technology in his own way. One of the other prisoners, a large alien with rocky skin, started making noise. He wanted food. He wanted water. He was angry. Talvik came back with his stun weapon and fired repeatedly into the alien's cell until he collapsed. The cruelty was casual, thoughtless. Leo felt anger burning in his chest, but he pushed it down. Anger made you stupid. His father had taught him that while working with wild animals. Stay calm, stay focused. Wait for the moment. The shift change was coming. He could feel it in the ship's routine. Guards got lazy near the end of their shifts. They talked more, paid less attention. Captain Rivik retired to his quarters. The corridor outside the holding area grew quieter. Get ready, Leo whispered to Hammond and Nira. Badger stood up, muscles tensing. The honey badger knew something was about to happen. Leo had one of the bolts in his hand, hidden in his palm. It wasn't much of a weapon, but it would work on the junction box. The guards changed. 2 left, 2 arrived. For exactly 5 minutes, those 2 new guards stood at the far end of the holding area, checking the previous shift's logs. The energy barriers hummed at a lower frequency as power cycled. Leo moved fast. He jammed the bolt into the junction box between his cell and Hammond's. Sparks flew. The barriers flickered and died. He was through in a second, Badger right behind him. Hammond burst from his cell like a man half his age. Alarms started blaring immediately. They had maybe 30 seconds before guards flooded the area. Leo ran to Nira's cell and kicked the cracked locking mechanism. It shattered. She tumbled out, eyes wide with terror and hope. Hammond was already freeing the other prisoners, including the lions and wolves, from the preserve. The guards at the end of the corridor turned and raised their weapons. Then they saw what was coming. A honey badger leading a pack of Earth predators, backed by desperate prisoners who had nothing left to lose. Their faces went pale under their fur. Run, Leo shouted, and the chaos began. Blood streaked the corridor walls of the Crimson Talon. The first guard never had a chance. Badger hit him low while Hammond hit him high, and the pirate went down hard. The second guard managed to fire his weapon, but the stun bolt went wild as a wolf from the preserve tackled him. Leo grabbed Nira's hand and ran. Behind them, chaos erupted. The freed prisoners scattered in every direction. Some headed for the pods like Leo had told them. Others went looking for revenge on their captors. The young lions roared in confusion and fear, adding to the noise and panic. "This way," Leo shouted over the alarms. He knew where the pods were. 3 corridors forward, left turn, then straight to the emergency bay. Simple in theory, harder when pirates with weapons were hunting you. They rounded the corner and ran straight into Talvik. The mean guard grinned when he saw Leo. "Going somewhere, boy?" Before Leo could react, Badger shot past him like a furry missile. The honey badger went straight for Talvik's throat. The pirate screamed and tried to shake him off, but honey badgers didn't let go. Ever. Leo pulled Nira past them while Talvik stumbled backward, clawing at the animal on his face. Hammond caught up to them, breathing hard. He had a stun rifle now, taken from the first guard. "Pod bay?" "Straight ahead," Leo confirmed. They burst through the door into a large chamber filled with small escape pods. Each one could hold 3 or 4 people in an emergency. There were 8 pods total. 5 other prisoners had already made it here and were trying to figure out the launch controls. "Help them," Leo told Hammond. "I need to go back for Badger." "Kid, that's suicide. He's my friend." Before Hammond could argue, an explosion rocked the ship. Something had gone wrong in the engine room. Maybe one of the prisoners had sabotaged it. Maybe the lions had broken into critical systems. Whatever happened, the Crimson Talon was in serious trouble. Leo ran back into the corridor. Smoke filled the air now and emergency lights flashed red. He found Badger exactly where he left him. Talvik lay unconscious on the floor, his face a mess of claw marks. The honey badger stood over him, making sure he stayed down. "Come on, buddy. Time to go." Badger hesitated. He wanted to make sure this threat was finished. But Leo whistled their special signal, and the animal finally turned away. They ran together back toward the pod bay. Captain Rivek emerged from a side passage blocking their path. He was bigger than his crew, with scars that told stories of previous fights. He held a large plasma weapon that hummed with deadly energy. "You cost me everything," Rivek snarled. "Do you know what this ship means to me? What this cargo was worth?" "You shouldn't have taken us," Leo said. He was terrified but kept his voice steady. "Humans protect their kids. Earth animals protect their humans." "You forgot that. Earth animals," Rivek laughed bitterly. "Primitive creatures from a backwater planet." "The galaxy doesn't fear Earth," Badger growled. It was a sound that carried more threat than any animal his size should make. Rivek aimed the plasma weapon at Leo. "Goodbye, boy." A stun bolt hit Rivek from behind. He convulsed and fell. Behind him stood the ship's medic, a Tarlan named Dr. Helix. She looked different from the other pirates, cleaner, sadder. She lowered her weapon. "Go," she said to Leo. "The pods, now." "Why help us?" "Because this is wrong." "It has always been wrong. I tried to tell myself we were just surviving, but we're not. We're monsters." She looked at Badger, who watched her warily. "That creature fought to protect you. Pure loyalty. When was the last time anyone showed me loyalty?" She handed Leo a data chip. "Pod bay launch codes." "All of them." "Get everyone out." Leo took the chip. "Come with us." Dr. Helix shook her head. "This is my ship. My mistake. I'll face what comes." She pushed him gently toward the pod bay. "Run, child, and tell the galaxy what happened here. Tell them the Tarlon pirates learned their lesson." Leo ran. Badger kept pace beside him, occasionally looking back at the medic who had saved them. They burst into the pod bay to find complete chaos. Hammond had figured out the controls but couldn't launch without proper codes. The other prisoners were panicking as the ship shuddered from more internal explosions. "I got the codes," Leo shouted. He plugged the chip into the main console. Green lights flashed across all 8 pods. "Everyone in now!" They scrambled into the pods. Leo, Badger, Nira, and one of the rocky-skinned aliens crammed into Pod 7. Hammond took Pod 3 with 2 other humans. The remaining prisoners filled the other pods. Through the viewport, Leo could see Rustgate Station growing larger. The Crimson Talon had been approaching it when they started the escape. "Launching in 3. Hammond's voice crackled over the comm. 2. 1. The pods shot from the ship like bullets. G-force pressed Leo back into his seat. Nira screamed. Badger dug his claws into the floor to keep from sliding. Then they were free, floating in space, watching the crimson talon drift past them, trailing smoke and fire. "Did we make it?" Nira asked, voice shaking. "We made it," Leo confirmed. "We're alive." Through the viewport, he saw something that made his blood run cold. Another ship was docking with the crimson talon. It was huge, painted black with no identifying marks. As he watched, a figure appeared in the docking tube viewport. Massive, armored, human. The figure stared directly at Leo's pod. Even from this distance, even through multiple layers of glass and vacuum, Leo felt the weight of that stare. This person had been waiting. This person had wanted him specifically, Leo. Nira touched his arm. "What's wrong?" "Someone was coming to buy me," he said quietly. Someone human. The implications hit him hard. The raid hadn't been random. They had targeted his colony. They had taken him on purpose. Someone wanted his family's research, their animals, their genetic data, and they had used human traders to do it. The pods drifted toward Rustgate Station. It was enormous, a sprawling mass of metal and lights that housed thousands of beings from hundreds of species. Somewhere in there they would be safe. Somewhere in there they could find help. But that mysterious ship and its unknown buyer kept drawing Leo's eyes. "We need to disappear when we land," Leo told the others in his pod. "Split up. Hide. That ship is going to come looking for us." "But the station authorities will protect us," Nira said hopefully. "Maybe. Or maybe they're part of this." Rustgate isn't exactly known for following laws. Leo had heard stories about this place from visiting traders. It was a haven for criminals, smugglers, and worse. Station security cared more about profit than justice. Hammond's voice came over the comm again. "Pods 4 and 6 are heading to the commercial docks. I'm taking Pod 3 to the industrial sector. Recommend everyone else scatter. Meet at Sector 12, Level 7, place called the Rusty Bolt Bar. 2 hours. Copy that," Leo replied. He didn't know who Hammond was really, but the old prospector had proven trustworthy so far. Their pod entered Rustgate's landing pattern. Automated systems grabbed them and pulled them toward a docking bay. Through the viewport, Leo could see the black ship breaking away from the crimson talon. It was coming toward the station too. "Coming for him, Badger," Leo said softly. "We're not done running yet." The honey badger looked up at him with those fierce black eyes. He huffed once. Translation: Never were. The pod docked with a clang of metal. The door hissed open to reveal a cramped landing bay filled with maintenance equipment and cargo containers. A female voice shouted at them from somewhere in the shadows. "Move it! Station security will be here any minute, and trust me, you don't want them to find you first." A woman emerged from behind a cargo container. She was human, maybe 40 years old, with short dark hair and grease stains on her jumpsuit. She carried a heavy wrench like a weapon and had the look of someone who had spent their whole life in space. "You the escapees from the Tarlon ship?" she asked. "Who wants to know?" Leo replied carefully. The woman laughed. "Smart kid. Name's Beth Cooper. I run cargo on this station, legal and otherwise. Word spreads fast down here. Prisoners escaping. Pirates getting their teeth kicked in by earth animals. Everyone's talking about it." She looked at Badger with appreciation. "That the famous monster?" Badger growled softly. "He's a honey badger," Leo said. "And he's not a monster." "Honey badger," Beth repeated, testing the words. "Well, honey badger or not, you all need to get out of sight. I recognized you the moment I saw you. Leo Durant. Your parents run that preserve on New Perth." Leo's eyes widened. "How do you know that?" "Because your family's name is known in certain circles. Important circles. And if I know who you are, so do the people hunting you." Beth gestured urgently. "Come on, my ship's 3 bays over. We can hide there while I figure out how to get you off the station alive." Leo looked at Nira, then at Badger. They had escaped the pirates. They had survived. But the real danger was just beginning. Beth Cooper's cargo ship smelled like engine oil and recycled air. She led them through a maze of stacked containers to a hidden compartment behind the main hold. It was barely big enough for the 4 of them, including Badger, but it had food and water, and most importantly, it was safe. "Stay quiet," Beth ordered. "Station security runs random cargo checks. If they find you, I can't help." Leo sat on a crate while Nira curled up in the corner, finally allowing herself to rest. The rocky-skinned alien who had told them his name was Rock stood guard by the entrance. Badger explored every inch of the compartment, sniffing and investigating. "Why are you helping us?" Leo asked Beth. She paused at the door. I knew your grandmother. Long time ago. She helped me when I needed it. Figure I owe the family. Beth's expression softened. Plus I got kids of my own. Seeing pirates steal children makes me want to break things. My grandmother? She was part of the colonial expansion program. Tough woman. Smart too. She understood something important about Earth species, about why we bring animals with us to the stars. Beth glanced at Badger. We're stronger together. Always have been. After she left, Leo tried to rest, but his mind wouldn't stop. The mysterious buyer kept haunting his thoughts. A human working with pirates to kidnap children from colonies. What kind of person did that? What could they possibly want? Badger climbed onto Leo's lap and settled there. The honey badger's breathing slowed to a peaceful rhythm. Even after everything they had been through, Badger could still find moments of calm. Leo envied that. 2 hours later, Beth returned with Hammond and the other escapees. The small compartment became cramped. Everyone had stories of their journey through the station. Some had been chased by security. Others had hidden in garbage chutes. One lucky group found a sympathetic shopkeeper who fed them. We can't stay here, Hammond said bluntly. That black ship docked an hour ago. Its crew is searching the station. They have a picture of Leo. They're offering rewards. How much? Leo asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. 50,000 credits. Dead or alive, though they prefer alive, Nira gasped. That's enough to buy a small ship. That's enough to make everyone on this station our enemy, Beth corrected. She rubbed her face tiredly. We need to get you off Rustgate. Problem is every departure gate is being watched. Station Master Voon gave the searchers full access. He's taking a cut of the reward. Can we steal a ship? Rock suggested. His voice was deep and rumbling. Sure, if you want every bounty hunter in 3 sectors chasing us, Beth replied. We need to be smarter than that. Leo stood up and paced the small space. Tell me about the buyer. Who are they? Beth exchanged a look with Hammond. Finally, she sighed. His name is Vincent Cross. Used to be Colonial Defense, honorable discharge. Then he went private sector. Now he brokers deals between alien races and humans who are willing to sell out their own kind. What does he want with me? Your family's research. The genetic modifications you've been doing to Earth animals. The preservation project. Beth leaned against the wall. Think about it, Leo. If someone could weaponize companion animals, make them loyal and deadly and smart, they could sell that to the highest bidder. Your honey badger alone represents millions in potential revenue. Leo felt sick. My parents would never sell that data. That's why Cross is willing to steal it. And you're the key. You've grown up around the animals. You know the techniques. You're the whole project wrapped up in one 12-year-old package. So what do we do? Nira asked quietly. Before anyone could answer, an alarm sounded through the ship. Beth swore and pulled out a comm device. A voice crackled through it, mechanical and official. This is station security. We're boarding all ships in Docking Bay 7 for inspection. Prepare for search. That's this bay, Beth said. They're coming. Hammond grabbed his stolen rifle. We fight our way out. Against station security? That's suicide, Beth argued. Leo looked at Badger. The honey badger was alert now, sensing the tension. An idea formed in Leo's mind, crazy, dangerous, but possibly their only chance. What if we don't hide? Leo said slowly. What if we do the opposite? Everyone stared at him. Cross wants me. Station security wants the reward. Everyone's looking for escaped prisoners hiding in the shadows. Leo's words came faster as the plan solidified. But what if we weren't hiding? What if we went public? Explain, Hammond demanded. Rustgate has traders from all over the galaxy, right? Representatives from different species. News channels. Communication hubs. Leo met Beth's eyes. What if we told everyone what happened? The raid on New Perth, the kidnapping, the slavery. Make Cross come after us in the open where everyone can see. That's insane, Rock rumbled. We would be exposed. We're already exposed. They know we're on the station. They're searching every ship. Leo gestured around them. But if we go to the public areas, if we get enough witnesses, Cross can't just grab us without consequences. Beth was nodding slowly. The kid's right. Cross operates in the shadows. He needs deniability. If we make this public, if we get other species involved, it becomes a diplomatic incident. And then what? Nira asked. We still need to get off the station. We call for help. Contact the Colonial Defense Force, my parents. Anyone who can send ships. Leo knelt down to Badger's level. We survived the pirates. We can survive this, the honey badger huffed. His version of agreement. Heavy footsteps echoed outside the cargo hold. Station security was boarding. They had maybe 2 minutes before the search reached the hidden compartment. Everyone in favor of the crazy plan? Hammond asked. Every hand went up. Then we better move fast, Beth said. She opened a panel in the floor. Maintenance tunnels run under the whole station. We can use them to reach the central hub. That's where all the news services and trading posts are. They dropped into the tunnels one by one. The space was cramped and dark, lit only by flickering emergency lights. Pipes ran along the walls carrying water and waste and power throughout the massive station. Leo heard rats scurrying in the darkness. At least he hoped they were rats. Badger led the way. The honey badger's nose was better than any scanner, and he could smell fresh air ahead. They crawled for what felt like hours but was probably only 20 minutes. Finally, they emerged through a grate into a busy marketplace. Dozens of species filled the space. Tall insectoids haggled with short furry traders. A group of aquatic beings floated in mobile water tanks. Holographic advertisements flashed in every language. The noise was overwhelming after the quiet tunnels. Stay together, Beth ordered. Head for that news kiosk. They pushed through the crowd. Leo kept Badger close, one hand on his back. People stared at them. They looked like what they were, escaped prisoners covered in grime and desperation. But no one tried to stop them. The news kiosk belonged to a multi-armed alien who ran 3 different screens at once. She looked up when they approached, her multiple eyes blinking in sequence. We need to make a statement, Leo said, about the Tarlin pirates, about human slavers, about everything. The alien's eyes focused on him. You're the boy, the one with the reward. Yes, and I want to tell my story, all of it, to everyone who will listen. She studied him for a long moment. Then she smiled, which was unsettling with that many teeth. This will be the biggest story I've ever broadcast. Get in front of the camera. As Leo stood before the recording device, he saw movement in the crowd. Men in black armor. Cross's people. They were here. They had found him. But so had everyone else. Word spread fast. Within seconds, dozens of beings were watching. Cameras from other news services appeared. This was it. The moment everything changed. Leo took a breath and began to speak. He told them about New Perth, about the raid, about the kidnapping, about Badger and how a honey badger never gave up. He told them about the Crimson Talon and the escape. He told them about Vincent Cross and the conspiracy to steal human children. The armed men moved closer but couldn't reach him through the growing crowd. More species gathered. Some were outraged. Others were curious. But all of them were listening. By the time Leo finished, the entire central hub had stopped to watch. His story was broadcasting across the station, across the sector, maybe across the galaxy, and somewhere in that crowd, Vincent Cross was watching too, realizing his careful plans had just exploded in the worst possible way. The crowd in the central hub had grown to hundreds. Species from every corner of the galaxy watched as Leo stood before the cameras. Some held up communication devices, recording everything. Others shouted questions. The noise was deafening. Then a new voice cut through the chaos. Clear the area. This is station security. Commander Vrak pushed through the crowd with a squad of armed officers. He was tall and reptilian, with scales that shimmered under the marketplace lights. His reputation preceded him. Vrak was one of the few honest officers on Rust Gate, which meant he was also one of the most dangerous. You are the escaped prisoner, Vrak said to Leo. It was not a question. I am the kidnapped colonist, Leo replied. He kept his voice steady. There's a difference, Vrak's eyes narrowed. Station Master Voon wants you detained. Station Master Voon is corrupt. He takes bribes from slavers. Leo pointed at the camera still recording. Are you going to arrest a victim while the galaxy watches? The commander hesitated. Around them, the crowd grew restless. Some alien species had laws about child protection. Others simply hated slavery. All of them were paying attention. The law says escaped prisoners must be returned to custody, Vrak said carefully. Whose custody? Hammond stepped forward. The pirates who kidnapped us? The human criminal who paid for it? Or maybe back to our homes where we belong? Before Vrak could answer, the crowd parted violently. Vincent Cross arrived with 20 armed soldiers. He was huge, over 2 meters tall, with cybernetic enhancements visible beneath his skin. His face was cold and calculating. This was a man who had done terrible things and never lost sleep over them. Commander Vrak, Cross said smoothly. I have a legal claim on these individuals. They are cargo stolen from a registered transport. We're people, Nira shouted. Not cargo. Cross ignored her. I have the documentation right here, signed by the proper authorities. These prisoners are my property until proper payment is rendered to the Tarlon fleet. Leo felt his blood turn to ice. Cross had the law on his side. Corrupt law bought with bribes and threats, but law nonetheless. This is wrong, someone in the crowd yelled. More voices joined in. The marketplace was turning into a riot. Vrak raised his hand for silence. I need time to review the documentation. Everyone will remain here while I consult with my superiors. Commander, Cross said quietly. There are political considerations. My employers are very powerful, very connected. You don't want to make enemies of them. Are you threatening me? I'm informing you of reality. Vrak's scales rippled with anger. Leo could see him wrestling with duty and conscience. Finally, the commander spoke into his comm device. Bring me all files related to Tarlon fleet activities in this sector. Also, bring me Station Master Voon. I have questions about his financial records. Cross's expression darkened. You're making a mistake, perhaps, but it's mine to make. Vrak turned to his officers. Protective custody for the prisoners. No one touches them until I sort this out. Commander? One of Vrak's officers pointed at a screen. You need to see this. The marketplace's large display screen switched to a newsfeed. A reporter was standing in front of the Crimson Talon, which was now locked in station security's impound bay. The ship was damaged badly, barely holding together. Inside this vessel, our investigation team found evidence of extensive slave trading operations, the reporter said. Computer logs show dozens of raids across 5 sectors. Names, dates, victims. But most disturbing is this communication log between the Tarlon pirates and a human broker named Vincent Cross. Cross moved toward the exit. But Vrak's officers blocked his path. The reporter continued. Messages detail a specific operation targeting the Durant family preserve on New Perth. The goal was to kidnap 12-year-old Leo Durant and steal research data about genetically enhanced Earth animals. This was not random piracy. This was a coordinated conspiracy. The crowd erupted. Some species shouted for Cross's arrest. Others demanded justice for all the victims. The marketplace descended into chaos. Cross drew a weapon. His soldiers did the same. If I can't take the boy legally, I'll take him by force. Stand down, Vrak commanded. His officers raised their own weapons. Leo looked at Hammond, then at Beth. They were outnumbered and outgunned. Even with Badger's ferocity, they couldn't win a firefight in a crowded marketplace. Too many innocents would die. Then something unexpected happened. The freed prisoners from the Crimson Talon emerged from the crowd. All of them, including the rocky-skinned rock and the large alien that Talvik had tortured. They surrounded Leo and his friends, forming a living shield. You want the boy? Rock rumbled. You go through us first. More beings joined them. Shopkeepers who hated slavery, traders who had lost family to pirates. Even some of Cross's own people lowered their weapons, unwilling to shoot into a crowd of innocents. Cross's face twisted with rage. You think this changes anything? I have resources, connections, I'll hunt every one of you down. No, Leo said. You won't, he whistled. Badger, who had been sitting quietly at his feet, suddenly sprang forward. The honey badger moved with terrifying speed, weaving between legs and weapons. He went straight for Cross, teeth bared. Cross tried to shoot, but Badger was too fast. The animal latched onto Cross's leg, biting through armor and cybernetics. Cross screamed and fell. His soldiers moved to help him, but the crowd surged forward. Not attacking, just pressing in, making it impossible to fight. In the confusion, Beth grabbed Leo. Time to go. They ran. Hammond led the way through a service corridor while Vrak's officers held back Cross's soldiers. Badger caught up to them, blood on his muzzle but otherwise unhurt. The honey badger looked pleased with himself. Where are we going? Nira panted. Emergency docking bay, Beth replied. I called in a favor. Someone's coming to get us. They burst into the docking bay to find an unmarked ship waiting. The cargo ramp was down. A woman stood at the top in Colonial Defense Force uniform. She was older, with gray hair and the bearing of someone who had commanded respect for decades. Admiral Ross, Beth said with relief. You made good time. I was already in the sector investigating pirate activity. Admiral Ross looked at Leo. You're Alan and Rebecca's son. You have your father's eyes. You know my parents? I served with them years ago. When they decided to start the preserve project, I thought they were crazy, bringing Earth animals to the colonies. Ross smiled. Looks like they were smarter than me. That honey badger just became the most famous animal in the galaxy. Explosions rocked the station. Alarms blared. Through the viewport, Leo saw Cross's ship trying to escape, but Vrak's forces were blocking it. The commander had made his choice. We need to leave, Ross said. The station's about to get very chaotic. They boarded quickly. Ross's crew was efficient and professional. Within minutes, they were launching. Leo watched through the viewport as Rustgate fell away behind them. The massive station looked small from this distance. All that chaos, all that danger shrinking to a point of light. What happens now? Leo asked. Now we go home, Ross replied. Your parents have been frantic. We've been searching for you since the raid. What about Cross? The Syndicate? Ross's expression hardened. Cross will face trial. Frak found enough evidence to keep him locked up for years. As for the Syndicate, this is bigger than we thought. But you've done something important, Leo. You've exposed them, made them visible. That's the first step in taking them down. Hammond slumped in a seat, finally allowing himself to relax. The kid's got a future in tactical planning. I just wanted to go home, Leo said quietly. Neera hugged him. You saved us. All of us. Badger climbed into Leo's lap and settled there. The honey badger's eyes were already closing. He had fought hard, but now it was time to rest. Leo stroked Badger's fur and watched the stars stream past. They were heading home. Back to New Perth. Back to the preserve and his family. But something had changed. He wasn't just a colony kid anymore. He was someone who had faced the galaxy's worst and survived. Admiral, Leo said suddenly. The other colonies. The other kids cross-targeted. We need to warn them. Already done. We've sent alerts across every human settlement. The colonial network is on high alert. Ross sat down across from him. But you're right to think about them. This isn't over. The Syndicate has been operating for years. There are more people like Cross out there. More conspiracies. More danger. Then we need to stop them. We will. When you're older, if you want to help, there will be a place for you in the Colonial Defense Force. Leo looked at Badger, still sleeping peacefully despite everything. The honey badger had taught him something important. Size didn't matter. Fear didn't matter. What mattered was never giving up, never backing down, always protecting those you cared about. I'll think about it, Leo said. The ship jumped to faster-than-light travel and Rustgate disappeared behind them. They were going home. But the galaxy had learned something today. Never corner a human kid. Never underestimate Earth animals. And never ever mess with a honey badger. Because honey badgers don't care about your plans. They don't care about your weapons. They don't care about anything except protecting what's theirs. And right now, Leo Durant was theirs. 3 months had passed since Rustgate. Leo stood in the same fields where the pirates had taken him, but everything felt different now. The grass was still purple. The twin suns still painted the sky in brilliant colors. But the colony had changed. Security towers stood at every border. Defense satellites orbited overhead. New Perth would never be vulnerable again. Badger dug in the dirt nearby, searching for the colony equivalent of grubs. The honey badger had become something of a celebrity. Ships arrived weekly, just so their crews could see the famous Earth animal. Some brought gifts. Others brought requests for breeding pairs to start on their own worlds. He's getting fat, a voice said behind Leo. He turned to see his mother, Rebecca Durant. She looked tired but happy. The last 3 months had been hard on everyone. The preserve had been damaged in the raid. 3 animals had died. The family had spent weeks rebuilding. He earned it, Leo replied. Let him enjoy retirement, Rebecca laughed. Retirement at 3 years old? Somehow I don't think honey badgers retire. She sat down on a fence post. How are you really doing? Leo thought about it. The nightmares had stopped last week. He could sleep through the night now without waking up in a cold sweat, thinking he was still on the Crimson Talon. Better, he said honestly. Some days are harder than others. That's normal. What you went through, what you survived, it would break most adults. She put her arm around him. I'm proud of you. Your father is too. We all are. In the distance, Leo could see his father Alan working with the new security team. The Colonial Defense Force had assigned permanent guards to the preserve. Admiral Ross had been true to her word about protection. News kept coming from across the galaxy. The story of Leo and Badger had spread like wildfire. Every species seemed to have their own version. Some made Leo sound like a warrior. Others focused on Badger's ferocity. A few got it completely wrong and described them as space wizards or something equally ridiculous. But the truth was simpler and more powerful. A kid and his animal had refused to give up. Together they had exposed a criminal network that had operated in shadows for years. Vincent Cross was awaiting trial on 17 different worlds. Each one wanted justice for their stolen children. Commander Vrak had been promoted and given command of a new anti-trafficking task force. Dr. Helix, the pirate medic who had helped them escape, had testified against her former crew in exchange for leniency. The Tarlon fleet had been disbanded. Captain Rivek had died when the Crimson Talon's engines finally exploded. First Mate Scree was in prison. Talvik, the cruel guard, had been found with severe injuries in the ship's wreckage. Badger's handiwork. Someone's here to see you, Rebecca said, nodding toward the main house. Leo walked back with Badger trotting beside him. A shuttle sat in the landing pad, military markings on its hull, but it wasn't Admiral Ross this time. It was Nira. The young Quillen girl jumped out before the shuttle fully powered down. She ran to Leo and hugged him fiercely. "I can't believe I'm actually here." "What are you doing on New Perth?" Leo asked, surprised but happy. "My mother got a job with the Colonial Administration. We're moving to the sector capital, but we're stopping at every colony on the way. I wanted to see you first." Nira looked around with wide eyes. "Your home is beautiful. Want to meet the other animals?" They spent the afternoon touring the preserve. Nira was fascinated by everything. The lions, the elephants, the wolves. She had never seen such diversity of species from one planet. Her world had fewer large predators and none as varied as Earth's. "Your planet must have been very dangerous," Nira said as they watched a bear catching fish in a stream. "Still is in some places. Humans spent thousands of years learning to live alongside these creatures. Some we domesticated. Others we learned to respect from a distance." Leo scratched Badger behind the ears. "But we never forgot that we're stronger together." A group of alien visitors arrived in the late afternoon. They were delegates from the Quillen homeworld, Nira's species. They approached Leo nervously. "We wanted to thank you personally," the lead delegate said. "Your actions saved not just our children who were prisoners, but prevented future raids on our colonies. The Syndicate had been targeting our worlds for years." "I just did what anyone would do," Leo said. "No, most would have given up. Most would have accepted their fate." The delegate bowed low. "We wish to establish a preserve on our world, to bring Earth animals and learn from them. Will you help us?" Leo looked at his parents.
His father nodded encouragingly.
"It's your decision." "I'll help," Leo said. "But understand, these animals aren't weapons. They're companions, friends, family. If you want them on your world, you have to respect that." "We understand. Your honey badger taught us what loyalty truly means." More visitors came as the days turned into weeks. Representatives from a dozen different species, all wanting to learn about Earth animals. Some wanted to start breeding programs. Others wanted to study the genetic modifications. A few just wanted to meet the famous boy and his honey badger. Leo tried to give them all time, but it was exhausting. He missed the simple days of just working in the preserve, taking care of animals without being watched and analyzed. One evening, he found Hammond sitting on the porch of the main house. The old prospector had stayed on New Perth, helping with security and repairs. He claimed he was too old to go back to asteroid mining, but Leo suspected he just wanted a place to belong. "Tired of being famous yet?" Hammond asked. "Very," Leo admitted. "It'll die down eventually. People will find something else to talk about." Hammond pulled out a data pad, though you might want to see this before it does. The pad showed a news report from the Galactic Core. The Colonial Senate had passed new laws about child protection and trafficking. They were called the Durant Protocols. Any ship found transporting kidnapped minors would be destroyed on sight. Any species caught participating in child slavery would face immediate sanctions. "They named it after us," Leo whispered. "After you," Hammond corrected. "You changed things, kid. Made the galaxy safer for everyone's children." Leo watched Badger sleeping in a patch of sunlight. The honey badger looked so peaceful, so normal. It was hard to believe this small animal had helped spark a galactic movement. Admiral Ross visited again a month later. She brought news that the syndicate's leadership had been identified. A joint task force from multiple species was hunting them. It would take years to bring them all to justice, but the process had begun. "We couldn't have done this without you," Ross said. "You started something important. I just wanted to go home. The best heroes usually do." Ross handed him a small badge. "This is honorary. You're too young for actual service. But when you turn 18, if you still want to help, there's a place for you in the Colonial Defense Force." Leo took the badge. It was simple metal, nothing fancy, but it represented something bigger, a promise, a future. That night, Leo sat in the preserve under the stars. Badger curled up beside him, making the contented sounds that honey badgers made when they felt safe. Around them, the other animals settled into sleep. Lions rumbled. Wolves howled at the moons. Life continued as it always had, but the galaxy had changed. Across hundreds of worlds, children slept safer because of what happened here. Parents held their kids a little tighter. Colonies strengthened their defenses. And somewhere in the dark spaces between stars, criminals thought twice before targeting the innocent. The message had spread through every spaceport, every trading post, every shadowy corner where bad people made their deals. It was simple and clear. Never corner a human kid. Never underestimate Earth animals. Never mess with a honey badger, because honey badgers never quit. They never back down. They protect what's theirs with a ferocity that defies their size. And when bonded with a human who shares that same stubborn refusal to give up, they become something greater than either species alone. Leo thought about the future. College. Maybe the Defense Force. Definitely continuing his family's work with the preserve. There was so much to do, so many colonies that needed help establishing their own programs. But that was tomorrow's worry. Tonight he was just a kid sitting with his best friend under alien stars, grateful to be home. Badger opened one eye and looked at him. The honey badger huffed softly. Translation: "Stop thinking so much." Leo smiled. "You're right, as usual." He lay back in the grass and watched the stars. Somewhere up there, Nira was traveling to her new home. Hammond was probably telling exaggerated stories about their adventure. Beth Cooper was running cargo and secretly helping other escapees find freedom. Commander Vrack was hunting the last remnants of the syndicate. They were all connected now, bound by shared experience and mutual respect. Humans and aliens working together to make the galaxy better. And it had all started because a 12-year-old boy refused to abandon his honey badger. And a honey badger refused to let anyone hurt his human. Leo closed his eyes. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. More visitors, more requests for help, more responsibilities. But tonight, under the purple grass and twin moons of New Perth, everything was exactly as it should be. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Now it was time to build on that foundation, to create a future where no child ever had to face what he had faced. It was a big dream. Maybe too big. But then again, honey badgers never cared about things being impossible. They just cared about getting the job done. And that was a pretty good philosophy for life. Badger snored softly. Leo laughed and closed his eyes. Home, safe, together. Nothing else mattered.